Hey everyone, this week was the 7th anniversary for the Chinese Azur Lane servers. As a result, we got treated with a new UR event featuring not one but two new UR ships for the French factions. First we have Alsace. Her stats are about what you expect from a UR ship. Good firepower, good efficiencies. Her first skill marks one target who takes 12% more damage for 10 seconds. Her barrage consists of 3 parts. The first part is a pillar of light that damages and burns the marked target. Then we get these arcing pellets that are also aimed at the marked target. Finally, we have 4 pellets that do backflips before also honing in on the marked target, making it largely a single target barrage. Also, her barrage has particularly high light armor modifiers, making her one of the better URs for dealing with light armor. Her second skill gives 15% firepower. The rest of the skill buffs her skill 1, but honestly the buffs are not amazing. First, you need stacks from Alsace firing her secondary gun or a French Vanguard ship, so there's a requirement. And the reward is the 12% damage buff on her skill 1 becomes permanent. And now since the mark is permanent, Alsace will begin marking anything unmarked with subsequent barrages. The permanent 12% damage buff is nice for Vanguard TPS, but for your main fleet ships who are likely to be firing around the same time anyways, the base 10 seconds is more than enough. The subsequent markings though is mostly useless. Because her barrage is tied to the marking, if a boss has extra mob ships, it's very likely that with or without the second skill, she ends up using her marks and barrage on a mob and not the boss. And then for pure mobbing, it doesn't really matter either, because nothing's surviving the first barrage anyways. Her third skill gives a faction buff of 8% crit rate, which is very good since it includes herself and also a heal, essentially giving a zombie heal to whatever ship falls below 30% HP first. Stat wise and skill wise, she's not that different from the other UR battleships. What sets her apart from the other URs, her biggest assets are her preloads. Yes, her preloads. Being the only UR battleship with preloads, she effectively gets 1 extra round of salvos compared to other URs. Overall, I really like Alsace. She's particularly good at focus firing a single target due to the nature of her barrage, but the moment a boss summons extra mobs, it's over. She's not bad in the mob fleet thanks to her preload and the presence of a heal, but obviously she lacks AoE. Her kit is different in a way that doesn't really power creep any of the existing URs. Also, she's got a really cool horse. Next, we have Mogador, the other UR of the event. She is a destroyer and a very offensively oriented one at that. She's got great stats, main gun +1, and as you'll see later on, her skills effectively give her another main gun +1. Skill 1 is her barrage, and uniquely a melee barrage as she lunges forward to ram and stab the enemy. The stab freezes the enemy, applies a damage debuff, and has a 100% crit rate if Mogador is not burning. The damage debuff is 6% increased damage from all forms of torpedo, meaning it includes surface torps, sub-torps, and even torpedo bombers. The debuff also has 100% uptime as its duration is 12 seconds and barrage cooldown is also 12 seconds. Her second skill gives her extra firepower equal to 15% of her evasion, which is great since as a destroyer she naturally has higher evasion than firepower. She also gets a shield whenever she takes damage from an enemy slower than her. Once again, as a destroyer, she naturally outspeeds everything but the speediest of destroyers, who are mostly other French destroyers, meaning she will almost always get her shield. When the shield breaks, she heals 10 HP, not 10%, 10, a flat 10, and shoots her main gun. Her shield has a 3-second cooldown, effectively meaning she heals and shoots her main gun an extra time every 3 seconds. But wait, there's more. Because her third skill also allows her to shoot her main gun extra times. As long as she's not burning, when she shoots an enemy hit by her stab move, she fires an extra main gun round with a 2-second cooldown. She also gets 10% accuracy, a submarine scanner, and reduced burn duration. All very useful utilities for her, particularly the reduced burn given the conditions set by her skills. Now let's count her main gun fires. I'm going to simplify things a bit to make the math easier. I'm also assuming she's using the UR gun she released with, which I think is her best in slot. It has roughly a 1.5 second reload, assuming a 6-second window, An average destroyer will get 5 shots off with a 1.5 second reload. Mogador, however, gets 10 shots because main gun +1. She gets 3 more from her second skill, and then 4 more shots from her third skill for a grand total of 17 shots. That's a lot. Of course, in practice, that's not going to be the case. The cooldowns are a bit off and things won't line up so perfectly, but you get the idea. She's going to start blasting people after she stabs them first. That's both URs, but there's 4 more ships in the event. 2 of them are elites, so let's quickly get them over with. Fleurette and her sister Epi. Neither of them are great. Their gimmick is they both have a skill that buffs each other, incentivizing you to use the both of them together, but even adding the 2 together and multiplying their power, it's less effective than what Mogador can do by herself. Yeah. Let's move on. Béarn META. She's an SR meta ship, an aircraft carrier with the unique loadout of being able to equip guns in her 3rd gear slot. Her second skill provides a 2-part barrage with 1 part being planes and the other being shells. Her second skill provides a ton of survivability for herself in the form of detection gauge reduction, heals for kills, slows for kills, and more heals and more gauge reductions when she gets low. Third skill gives a damage buff and a 20% faster first airstrike. The rest of the effects differ depending on what you equip in her 3rd gear slot. A cruiser gun enhances the shelling part of the first skill's barrage and adds a second barrage that fires 4 more shells every 10 seconds. A dive bomber enhances the planes in her barrage and gives her a 50% faster load time on her first airstrike. 9 times out of 10, equipping a dive bomber is gonna be better, because as a carrier she has a higher aviation stat to make use of, and the faster airstrike is also more useful. Finally, we have Brennus. Despite not being a UR, she is my favorite ship in the event. She has generally above average stats for an SR heavy cruiser. She gets main gun +1 and more importantly, +6 swords. Each sword functions as a shield that also enhances ramming damage. That doesn't mean you should start ramming her, alright? Stop it. The state of her swords also affects her second skill. At first, she will start with 15% increased damage. Every 20 seconds, she checks how many swords she has left. Any remaining swords get sent flying towards the enemy. If no swords are left, she converts her 15% increased damage to damage reduction. After either outcome, she resummons all her swords to be checked again later on. Basically, the skill gives the enemy a DPS check. Either they don't do enough damage to your swords, so you send them flying, or if they do enough damage, you just get tankier. Either way, it's a win. She also gets a once per battle revenge barrage when a ship falls below 50% HP, and a pretty powerful all-out assault. I might be jumping the gun, but I think Brennus is one of the strongest heavy cruisers in the game. Thoughts? Let me know in the comments.